Hi, my name is Kirstene Adkins. I'm going to be your painting instructor for learning how to do this fun Van Gogh inspired landscape painting. So you should have received a box of supplies, and we're going to go through a few of those that you should have gotten. You're going to have your paints, your brushes, a blank canvas, and a palette as well that you're going to utilize. So once you have those items, you're also going to need a pencil, some kind of paper or a straight edge of some kind. You can also use a paper towel, and then some paper towels or some kind of towels to put underneath your painting and to utilize throughout. You'll also need something to put some water in. So whether it's just an old cup, a plastic cup, or some kind of water paint dish that you can put in your water to rinse and utilize for your paints, you're going to use that as well. So once you have all of your items together, we'll go ahead and start your painting. So what you're going to start with first is we're going to take a look at the example for the painting that you have right here. We're going to do this landscape painting. So there's going to be a lot of steps, 8 to be precise, that we're going to go through today to make this painting. So we're going to go through the beginning, and then we're going to continue on with the video from the Zoom class that we continue with the rest of your team members. So first we're going to start with our sight line and then do the underpainting and then go through some of these details like the grass, the trees, the stars, and a lot of the Van Gogh inspired brush strokes that you see throughout the painting. So if you will grab your pencil, your straight edge or paper, and your canvas, we'll get started. So by taking a pencil, you're going to go ahead and draw a straight line across the canvas. You can choose where you want that straight line to go. On this canvas, we've done about 3/4 the way up on the picture. But if you take your piece of paper or any straight edge, such as a paper towel, you can figure out your line, where you want it to be on your canvas, and then just draw lightly across your canvas, making a straight line. Now, what's important throughout this process is you're also going to create that line to go on the edges of your canvas on both sides and continue that as you're painting. You always want to paint the edge, and you'll hear me say that throughout the painting experience. I'm going to the edge of your canvas, making sure your line always goes that way, all the way to the edge, and then any other designs we're doing throughout the painting process. Lastly, with your pencil, you're going to just make a note on here lightly where your sun is going to be. So if you're going to have your sun right in the center of your canvas, you're going to draw right on that or above the line a small dot where you're going to have your sun be, just as a reference. So after that, that's kind of your basics. You don't need your pencil anymore. We're going to start with our light blue and go from there on our colors to create our water. We're going to start with water first, then go to our sun, sunset, sunrise, whichever you prefer. So the first color you're going to start with in your little palette of colors here is the cerulean blue, the light blue. You're going to start with that color. Once you put it into your palette, you're going to go ahead with your larger flat brush. There's a couple different sizes. It's the larger of the one. It should be a size 2. It's a flat, straight edge brush. There's also a flat, round-edged brush. You can utilize that as well if you'd like to. We just want to use the biggest one to cover up the most surface area for this particular part of the process. So then go ahead and grab your brush. You're going to start painting. And one of the things that you want to think about when doing this painting, here's one that was about halfway done. We are going to leave a little area in the middle where the yellow is going to go. So we're not going to have to worry to cover on top. We're just doing our base layer underneath. So I leave a little bit of room for our yellow as well as our green on the edge here, and then start with our blue and going all the way around, making sure to hit the edges of our canvas with that light cerulean blue. Then we'll skip to the rest of the video and see what the rest of the process is. Good luck and have fun. Record. Then we'll be able to have this video online for anyone to go back and finish, or if they missed today, they would be able to watch and kind of follow along. So yeah, hopefully they answered your question, and hopefully everyone's kind of getting their water finished for this painting. Don't forget the bottom too. Got to cover all of the edges. Make sure they're covered as we go along. That's really going to create a nice finish on your painting. One of the things that I was from the very beginning when I started art school back in college, that was one of the things that they emphasized and really stressed was making sure that you cover the edges on your canvas all the way around. So I think I'm going to try to turn up the music because we just have maybe a couple more minutes and we'll see how our piece going. Let me turn up the music and see if you'll be able to hear it. Hear it? Well, since you can't hear it, I can tell you what the music is. It's all of the instrumental music from Bridgerton. I don't know if anybody watched Bridgerton. I was a big fan. So good. Or the Queen Charlotte, so good. That was probably, I think, the highlight so far of Bridgerton for me.
I love
with her little mini series. Loved it.
It's super popular wedding music these days.
Oh, I mean, it's beautiful. I love it.
I've never seen it. Is it good? You guys say it is. Yeah.
Very good. And my friend Lily has read all the books, so she suggests also reading the books. She really loves the books. I have not read them yet. I am almost finished with mine. Getting my blue coverage there, and then I'm just going to, once I have my bottom here filled with the light blue, doesn't have to be fully covered, especially with using kind of these small flat brushes that we were able to get in our kits. It doesn't have to be fully completely one note of the same blue color. We're kind of very gestural with our strokes anyway for this painting. Just make sure, try your best to cover all the white that you want to have covered. The goal with paintings, if there is white on a painting, it's not the white of the canvas. You will eventually cover all of the white and then cover on top with more paint. Whether you're using acrylic or oils or whatever it is, you're going to go back with more white. It's a little different with watercolors because it's so washed that a white of a watercolor would be difficult. A lot of people, if you use watercolors, will use like a paint marker on top of their watercolor painting to utilize the white if they didn't utilize the white and left it blank from their canvas. So we're going to cover all the white here today, put more on top. So I've pretty much got mine covered, and I'm going to go and just get a little bit of my dark blue, just a little bit, because I do not want to get rid of that beautiful turquoise light blue that we have. I'm just going to go through the edges just a little bit to start darkening to showcase a little bit of more depth with our water. And this is just the last part of step 1. So you're just going to go through and add just a little bit. I'm going to even kind of wash it out a little bit with water so that we can kind of just darken that a little bit. You can see how it's just going to give a little bit of darkening around our edges to show depth here. Okay. I think there also is a new season of Bridgerton coming. So if you haven't watched it, you're going to try to binge it beforehand.
There's actually 2 more seasons.
2 more seasons? Oh my goodness. I'm very excited for that. So
My big screen keeps on switching to whoever has their volume on. Is there any way to keep you on the big screen? Like,
Great question. So whoever has the audio on, that is where it's going to go to. I think it's just kind of an automatic. As far as I know, I don't think there is a way unless you have it full screen and then you see like everyone and I'm also on there. So since right now we're not really in instruction time, then you kind of know what's happening. But once I go back, okay, we're finished with the step. I'm going to show you step 2. If everyone can be muted, then I'll definitely stay on the screen while we're doing that instruction time.
I'll show you how to
You
do
can be
it.
pinned.
Yeah, if you go to the participants, like little arrow, right? That little participants button where it says 29. And then on Kirstene, right?
Yeah.
There's a little like dot on the right-hand corner where the little camera icon is. Click the dot and click pin.
I
And
got
then
it.
she'll always pop up.
Let's
Thank
see
you.
here. I have spotlight for everyone. Does that?
Yeah,
Let me
the
look.
other thing you can do is if you go up into the right-hand corner where it hits view, this is for everybody else on the meeting, and just and click speaker. That at least anyone who's speaking, and then if we're all muted, it will always show you.
Exactly. And that's what I knew it would normally do. So whoever's speaking would pop up. On my end, it doesn't give me that option. It only tells me spotlight and then raise hand. It doesn't give me maybe it's because I'm on my phone for the host. I'm not sure.
I was able to right click on you and pin you. So I think that makes you my pin video. So maybe we all need to do that.
Maybe that's it. Yeah. How is everyone doing on their blues? If you are, once you get to a point where you feel like you're ready, you can feel free to maybe raise your paintbrush and show me that you're done. But I think a lot of people are still painting, so no problem. We're doing great, and I'm excited to go to the next step. And the next step is we're going to do the sky and our grass area. So we're going to do that next. All right, we've got a couple paintbrushes ready to go. So when we do go to the next step, I always like to go lighter colors first. So the first color we'll go with is yellow. So you can feel free to start getting that ready if you'd like to, as we wait for the rest of our team to finish up with their blue. And I don't know if everyone has their canvas available to pick up, but you can also pick it up unless you want to wait till the very end for it to be a surprise. We can do that too.
For the yellow, does it matter if it's medium or lemon for the sky, the first color?
Yeah, great question. So actually, they're fairly similar. I really mostly used the lemon when I was creating this picture, but you'll get a similar feel. As you can see, the colors, when you look at them with the examples, your medium yellow will have a little bit more of an orange tint because it's like a true yellow compared to this lemon yellow is a little bit of a neon. You can choose either, but I gravitated doing this painting to utilize the lemon yellow more, but true fashion with artists is normally going to go to your medium yellow. That's your go-to, but I use this one. So you can use either one, but they'll come out fairly similar as far as in shade.
Does it matter what brush we should use for this one?
Great question. So we're doing a lot of undertones right now. So I'm really going to utilize that largest brush that we have. There's kind of two of them. One's kind of straight and one's a little more round. You're going to just be doing a lot of undercolor. So a flat brush, a large one of any kind, we can utilize for this. And normally when I'm doing a painting like this, I honestly would be using a lot larger of a brush. But with this kit that we were able to, I kind of was surprised it only gave you small ones. But these work just fine. You just want to use normally like the largest one you have to kind of do your undercolor. Once we get into the more detailed parts of our painting, we'll use a little bit more of our round brushes. And that's where we're going to start putting like our circles in and our brush strokes and things like that. We're going to use a little bit of the smaller ones. So use your larger ones until we get to after we've gotten like all the undercolor painting done and the whole canvas is colored with paint, then we're going to be starting to use some of the smaller brushes we have. Okay, so it looks like everybody's pretty ready for the next step. So feel free to grab your brush again, clean it out from the blue so there's none in there because we do not want the blue to mix with the yellow for our sun so it's really nice and bright. So feel free to go ahead and go into your yellow. I don't even know if I didn't even open this medium yellow, so I'm going to use that for this. And grab another part in my palette here. And go ahead and start painting in my yellow for the sun. So you're going to stay above that line and create your circle motion for the sun. So I'm just going to kind of go back and forth with my yellow. Now, you can bring this yellow as far out as you want to. If you want a brighter sunrise, sunset, whatever this may be, then I'm thinking for me, it's very sunsetty because of the stars, but you can have your yellow go up higher and have less dark if you want to. I'm going to go almost halfway, a little bit up to the canvas with my yellow, and then we'll go and start adding in the other colors. So we'll do my yellow. Once you've got your yellow added in to where you feel like you're ready to go, you can go ahead and add your orange and then a little bit of red and then a little bit of purple onto your canvas or onto your palette to go into your canvas. So you're going to start kind of building, making sure that once you've used your dark color, you don't want it to go down too far into your other colors. It's harder to cover. You can, but these acrylics are not as stark as some other ones. So it may be hard. That yellow may be a little bit opaque. And if you put too much purple down, then it's going to be hard to cover. So keep your dark colors up higher, your lighter colors down lower, and start to build that sunrise, sunset. So go ahead and grab. And we're going to, if you look at the main painting, we're going to utilize those other colors again, because you will be adding a little bit of yellow into your water as well down to the bottom. So I'm just adding in some of my colors here. So you can see when we talked about those colors as well, someone was like, are we using light or dark blue? Which one are we using for the water? That blue that's added in, the deep blue, it's almost a purpley shade. So you can see I have it kind of purpley in some of these, especially when the red and the blue mix. So you can, in your palette, mix a little bit of that blue and purple together to make a more purpley color. So I'm going to show you here too, add a little bit in my palette. So once you get to that point.
Which red are we using?
So I think you only have crimson red. So yep. I consider that orange. So I used the scarlet red for red and just add a little bit of that crimson red in between for our orange color. You can also mix the two if you want. If you want to do the scarlet red and the yellow, you could mix to make your color. But I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to make that crimson red a little bit more orange. So I'm going to go in with my orange color. Be careful not to mix too far into that yellow. As we talked about, these are acrylics, so they're going to start to dry pretty quick. So a lot of times when you're mixing with colors, like especially if you're painting with oils, the paint would still be wet, so you can kind of mix them on the canvas. Acrylic doesn't always work like that because it dries so quick. So I'm going to kind of keep them separated. And you can go as close as you want, but to mix, I'm going to go back in with my yellow and kind of mix a little bit to show kind of that. So it's not a stark line contrast. So I'm going to add in some more orange, then go in with my red. Giving this very pretty rainbow effect. I'm going to start adding in my dark blue. Do not forget to do all the way to the edge of your canvas to create that night sky. So I like to take, I'm getting to the edge of my skyline right here. I like to take my brush kind of to the side to give myself a good guideline of where that is going to go. Kind of do a little outline and then bring up from there. When I am instructing and I'm painting, I feel like I'm doing like a speed painting. I'm like, ah. So feel free to take your time. I am just trying to get through this painting so I can try to kind of go along with you. So don't feel like I have to paint as fast as I'm going. Has anyone ever taken a painting class, like an art class before, other than high school? Has anyone ever taken art before? No? Even like community?
No, my daughter
No?
had.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I know like a lot of,
I've done a couple of these. They're pretty fun.
oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you do like the paint and sip with wine?
I don't drink, so I did a paint and eat.
Yeah, I love it.
Also,
I love it.
yeah.
Like I mentioned, I work with kids a lot doing these paintings, and I would do a lot of, we called them cupcakes and canvas. So we would have cupcakes with instead of like a paint and sip. So that was really fun.
That's my kind. Bring me all kinds of sweets.
Yes, absolutely.
My son is actually, he's 18. He's an artist. He's done some crazy stuff.
That's awesome. What does he do? Does he like murals or just like illustrations or?
He does murals. He loves to paint with whatever this acrylic stuff. I don't know what any of this stuff. He's very talented. It amazes me.
That's awesome.
Never.
I think, do you feel with your son, like, do you feel like he got any creativity from you? Or do you feel like you're not creative or?
I am creative, but not when it comes to painting. I honestly don't know where he got it from. I don't know if you can, I have one of his drawings. This is like he did it with pencil, like lead. I don't know if you can see it with my thing, but
No,
I don't
we
think I
can't
can
see it. It's
No.
a big blur.
it's blurry. Hold on. Let me
Yeah, with the background. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's still blurry, but I see which picture.
if I get it closer. Any? No.
No. Is it maybe it's the filter you have on?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah,
Gotta figure
but
out how to-
very cool. That's awesome. I think a lot of people sometimes will say, oh, I can't draw or I can't paint or
Yeah, I said
whatever the excuse might be. But I feel that anybody can. It just depends on how much time you put into it. But some people, like it sounds like your son, are naturally talented, and that's amazing. I love that. And yeah, he would probably be working with a lot of like quick dry paints, which would be like acrylic, because I do prefer oils, but they'll take like weeks to dry. So you wouldn't want something like that on a mural. Okay, so I'm almost done covering. We're kind of, I've instructed kind of most of our sky, and we're going to kind of blend. So this 3 to 5 minutes of kind of covering your sky, I'm almost done with my edge, and then I'm going to go through and kind of start to blend a little bit. So take time.
Can I see your painting again to see what you colored purple?
Absolutely. So I haven't, like my main one.
No, that one you're working on.
So I have not done the purple yet. I'm just adding in a lot of the deeper blue. And then I'm going to go in, and then I'm going to go in and mix the red and the blue together to do a little bit of purple for my blending. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. When you knew you were going to do this painting class, was anybody intimidated who had never done one before? A little bit, yeah.
I was intimidated once I saw what we had to paint.
Yeah, the picture.
Like, how am I going to do that?
Once I saw the picture.
I know. And it's like, how do we get that to this? It's, like I said, there's really only 8 steps. This is, we did step 1. This plus our trees is going to be step 2. And it's really going to go pretty quick, especially once we get our main things down, because a lot of it is just kind of adding brush strokes. So I have full confidence that you guys are all going to do a great job. And I think that, like I said, everyone in their own right is an artist. It just depends on what you want to focus on, what you want to practice. And everyone has some kind of creativity. Like, you could be a great cook. That's culinary arts. I do painting because it's very malleable, and you can kind of have a little bit of free reign, artistic license. If I try to cook, I can't really do that. So that is a different kind of artistry that I'm not very good at. So it's fun to see everybody's strengths. And then also I love to encourage others to really try to do something they haven't done before. So I'm excited for those who are a little bit intimidated by our big painting that we're doing today to see what yours looks like in the very end.
I made my pencil mark for my son like way too dark. Is there any way to fix that?
Yeah, okay. So you could try to go in with your eraser and see if you can kind of even scrub down your acrylic a little bit and get that pencil drawing out. If not, we're going to be adding on layers, be adding white and things like that. So you should be able to cover it. It just might take a couple of layers and some thicker strokes of paint to cover that pencil drawing. But if you just started kind of painting, you might be able to, even with a paper towel, kind of scrub off that first layer of paint and that pencil drawing, and then go back over with more paint. You might be able to do that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more yellow on mine, and then we'll kind of see where everybody else is feeling before we go into our trees. Hopefully, if anyone does have to leave, then we will have the painting up and you can go back and watch it if you need to at the earliest convenience to finish up your painting. Okay. Try your best to kind of make it a full circle coming from your center, or a semicircle coming from your center. We're going to go back in with lots of little strokes and with our brush. So a lot of it we can kind of play around with and fix here and there as we go along with our painting. Okay. All right, so hopefully everyone kind of has a skyline here of where they feel like they're good to start going on to their trees and start moving down to here. So feel free. We're going to go ahead and first go with our yellow again into the bottom here. So if we look at our example picture, we've got this yellow that reflects onto the water down the middle. So it is hard to see, but there will be some yellow in the main tree line that's closest to your yellow sun. So we're going to add some yellow a little bit around the tree line and then towards the middle. And feel free, it doesn't have to be, it can be kind of as big as you want. It just depends on how close your sun is reflecting on the water. As it goes up, the sun will spread out. So you can have it a little bit or larger. When I did it, I kind of had it about the same size. I started adding in more blues as we went along to kind of cover some of that. So put as much of the yellow as you'd like in your water area. And we'll be also adding a little bit of green in our water area. So don't have to fill it in all the way, but towards the middle, all the way down to where you still have white. So I'm going to add a little bit on our tree line because the sun is spreading out into the trees. And we're going to start, I think that should have been hopefully pretty quick for you guys because we're going to get our green. Whenever you're ready, get some yellow on and then go ahead and get your green out because we're going to do that next for our tree line. And which green you're asking, because I think there's two, we're going to do our light green, which is sap green. Let me know if it feels like I'm going too fast. I feel like our time is like, I don't want it to catch up on us and be like, oh my gosh, it's already 7 because we still have a whole hour, but I want to make sure that we get it through and that also you guys are, that we're working at a pace that's working okay for you. So feel free to chime in if you feel like I need to slow down or if you have any more questions as well. So go ahead and go with your light green. Okay. So we're going to cover most of all of the area that's now left with a light coating of our light green, okay? So I'm going to go in with a little bit of water and my green and start to cover this area. Don't forget to go all the way to your edge. And we're going to go right, I like to go right on the edge between the blue and the yellow. I'm going to start filling in with a little bit of water. Someone else is coming in. I think maybe she had left and she's back. So hopefully you were here from the beginning, Melanie. We are doing our tree line right now and adding in a little bit of green in our water because those trees will also be reflecting in the water. And we're going to be adding them around the edges where that sun is. Don't forget your edge on the other side. I feel like with me holding it up, it's easier for me to be like, oh, I haven't done this yet. But when you have it on the table, you kind of forget about this edge or the bottom. So don't forget your edges. And if you do, and you go into another step, just go back and fill in where you need to if you forgot an edge. Just again, going on between my yellow and my blue, adding some of the green lightly with water and light green. And the goal is then this is all of your undercolor. So at this point, once you finish your green, you should have no more white left on your canvas. If you need to, feel free to go back in and fill with any of the extra colors. If you need to go back in with more of your blue, but we are going to cover a lot more with our brush strokes. So you can always kind of here and there fill in where you feel like you need to, but really, really important in most paintings to get your base on there because you're building on top of that. Okay. So we've kind of got our base there. Make sure you've gotten your edges covered with paint. And we'll then go on to the next step, which is the brown. It's going to be kind of like the next layer that we're going to have on our tree line, which if you look at the finished product, it's very difficult to even see any of the brown through the black because of the shading that we're going to be doing. But we're doing brown next to start building our layer. And when we do this, we want to avoid covering all of our green in our kind of dark brown because we still want that to pop through. As you can see more of the green than you can the brown. So we want to make sure we're going to use it just a little bit as we go along to kind of start shading our colors. So I think
Are we using the light brown or the dark brown?
Ooh, good question. I don't even, let's see, did I get into both of them? I think our light brown, yes. Let's use the light brown, which is burnt sienna. Again, we're going to build layers, so we're doing our under layer here first. I'm still going to be utilizing that flat brush because I'm still kind of doing a little bit of undercolor. It doesn't have to be so specific about where it's going, but we want it to be a little bit lighter. I'm not doing details is what I think of. If you feel like you're heavy-handed, you can feel free to use a smaller round brush for this, but I think this should be fine with our medium flat brush. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of my brown and just start, I'm building layers of kind of where I think of them as like little hills that are going in our painting. They're going to be like little, let me show you a little bit where our trees are going to go. So we're building like these little layers for hills for trees to go on. So just kind of start, and this is not going to just have to be exact. So I'm just going to start kind of figuring out where do I want my hills to go. And going from there on if we look at the painting, this left side, I have a little bit darker and less on the right side, but it doesn't have to be exact to start kind of making little hills and building little layers, but do not cover too much so we can still see the green. And that is the most predominant. This is just kind of separating our green grass into little sections. Don't forget to do the edge. Don't just stop the hill. If it doesn't come to a very clean line and it's a nice thick line, we're going to have to drag it to the edge to create the rest of our hill, kind of like I did here. All right, someone else is coming in. Hello. Hopefully those who are kind of being able to have to leave and come back in, hopefully can jump in and be able to still catch up with our painting, but do your best, and you can always watch the video after if you need more instruction. But again, it doesn't have to be so specific. Everyone's can be different. So if you just go on and continue on, and if you missed a step, that's okay, because I'm sure you will make it look amazing. So we've added a little bit of brown for our layers here. For the edge line of water to grass, we're going to start to do that as well. So there is a little bit, you can see where the edge of water to grass is going to be. You can start making that line. with your brown. Your burnt sienna, yes. If you're feeling, I want to add a little bit more, you can, as much or as little, but you do want to still see your grass. Don't cover it fully. Make sure to go to the edge.
Are we still using the what is it, burnt sienna, or we did,
Yeah.
now we're burnt umber?
Nope, burnt sienna still, same
Okay.
color, burnt sienna, yep. Next step after we finish this, it's pretty much, we're almost to that point now. I'm pretty much done with using it. We're gonna go start using a little bit darker colors now to start kind of showcasing our depth of the water and the edge of the line between the grass and the hill and the water. So once you kind of got your basis of where things are going to go as far as your highlights, now you are fully finished with your background. You've started on your shading, and we are going to go into a little bit of that darker brown, the burnt umber, and also a little bit of black. So I want you to be cautious with using your black. And this is something when we talk about shading, let's give an example. I just want to see what some answers are. If I had an apple and I was going to draw an apple and I was going to draw the shadow of the apple is red. What color would the shadow of the apple be?
Black, brown, dark.
Slightly darker than that red.
Right. Okay. Great answer for that one. So a slightly darker version of that red. A shadow of a color would not be black. It would be the darker version of that color. So it is a pretty dark painting as far as some of the edges. So we are going to utilize that black. But what we want to do with these steps when we're building shadow, if we're doing darker color over blue, we're going to have that blue, add just a tiny little bit of black. When you're doing like a mix, a little bit of black to darken that blue color. So your shadow is more of a dark blue than a straight black. If you use straight black for all of your shadow, it's going to be a stark difference between a lot of these different things. And you can see like how this looks really dark compared to this. And then this, if you used black straight on this, then everything would just be, it would be like one note. You want some layers. So what we're going to do, that burnt umber is the darker version of the brown. So now we're going to go into that first, and you can start to darken that just a little bit where you had your brown. Like I said, add a little bit of black, and think about placement of the sun. So if the sun is coming down and shadowing, your shadow is going to come down this direction. There's going to be less shadow here towards the sun, more shadow this way, coming down here. Okay, so let me grab some of my dark brown. I'm going to start on my edge of the water. So I'm going to grab my darker, and I'm just going to start really lightly getting the edges a little darker to start showing a stark contrast. If you would like to use a smaller brush for this, you definitely can. Don't forget to go all the way to the edge. And some of your hills, you can have a little darker towards the away from the sun, a little darker on some of those edges. So go ahead and do the edges with the brown, water line. And if you're finished with that, you can feel free to start with your water, and right just on the darkest edges, start to shadow with your dark blue with a little black. If it feels like it's like a very distinct line between the grass to the water, we are going to darken that edge too that comes up to the bank. So that will be darkened a little bit as well. Not to worry. You can bring up that raw burnt umber, the burnt umber a little bit higher in if you feel like you need a little bit darker on your edges where it's farthest away from the sun. And pull up those banks just a little bit. A lot of times when you have grass at the edge of the water, sometimes there will be like a little bit of a hill where the grass is at the edge, where you can see that dirt. So you can kind of pull up a little bit from your brown, bringing it up the edge of the water. So I have finished most of where my brown is going to go. I'm going to start going in with my dark blue and my black, start giving my water a little bit more depth. Just because there's so much water to fill, I'm going to go back in, instead of using the small brush, I'm going to use the larger one because I have a little bit more, a larger area to fill in. So I'm going to just start figuring out where my edges of the water are going to be darkest. So like I said, we're going to kind of be farthest away from the sun. So our edges are going to be darker. Doesn't have to be all of them, but not the whole edge, but starting to fill in where depth is going to go. I'm going to give you a rough kind of gestural of kind of what I did and where I put. You don't have to put the same kind of whirlpool or water placement as far as the darkness and depth, but I just kind of went in and I'm going to give myself a gestural spot of where my dark edges are going to go. And I can have a nice pool of water here that's going to be darker. So then those kind of main areas is where I'm going to start kind of filling in a little bit and shading around to darken the areas with my deep blue, with my little bit of black. My, what's it called? Deep blue, that's what it is, yes. I think what I love about painting is that you can really kind of just play around with it. You can go, oh, I'm not sure about this. Let's do that. Oh, I don't like that. Let's let that dry. I'm going to put something else on top of it. If it's wet right away, you could wipe a little bit off and continue on with your painting. That's what I really love about working with different paints, especially watercolors and acrylics, and technically oils too, because I have a longer time to work with oils, which is great, and really be malleable with them. So as everyone is doing their blue, so this is a fun fact that I never really thought about until we talked about it in art school many, many years ago. So when the lights are turned off, and let's say we have my pink background here and the lights turn off, what do you think happens when the lights turn off to this color, pink? Does anybody have a guess? When there's no light, all the lights are off, what happens to the pink? No guesses?
Become gray. There's no color, right?
Exactly. So think about it. Everything in your room, if you turn off the lights, there is no more color. Your red couch is no longer red. Your purple blouse is no longer purple. The color is in void because there's no light to bounce off the chemicals within that item to create that color. So it kind of blows my mind a little bit when I think about it.
It's been too long of a day to think about that. I can't think.
Yeah, and technically, when you turn off the lights, this painting will not have color in it because of the light. There's nothing to reflect off the colors that are created. So it's just an interesting fact that I always thought was just crazy. And don't forget your bottom. If I'm kind of going dark here, this definitely needs to go dark as well. So remember your edges as you go along. So we are on step 6 of this painting. Sorry, just kidding, step 5. In step 6, we're going to add our trees. So we're going to do that next. Is everyone feeling like an artist? It's quite no. Yes, you're all artists today and tomorrow and forever. So you're all doing great.
Trying so hard to see the vision here. You haven't seen it yet.
Does yours seem like it's similar to what I'm painting?
Oh, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yours
That's
looks much better.
It's just the connection, you know, like it looks better with the anyway, I'm sure it's looking great. And if you're following the steps, we're really, as far as all of this, we see all of this Van Gogh style painting at this top layer, we haven't even started that yet. So really you're just doing your undercolor. We've exceeded past probably what a child could paint when I'm doing the classes. So we've started that point, which is great. Most kids would have their whole picture would be rainbow, or it would be a bunch of black splotches once you bring out the black color. So we've already exceeded that. Exactly. Just like
I wouldn't be so sure. The dark blue went and just kept going. So
I know, and that's what I was like, you gotta have like a light hand, or as we bring in all of this color on top, we're gonna lose our color. But what's great about acrylics with being quick drying is that you can always add in more brighter colors on top, especially when we're bringing in a lot of our swatches of paint. As we go to create those little gestural lines, you can bring in a lot of more color compared to the dark. So you can choose as we go through what you want to do with that. So it looks like hopefully a lot of you are getting to the point where you can kind of go on to the next step and just adding a little bit more. I think of these like little ripples in the water here and there. I like to add a little, there's normally ripples a little bit close to the shoreline. So I'm gonna add just a couple here and there. And not too many towards the sun, because we are gonna add more depth as we go through, but mostly with the color swatches. And towards the end, we will add a little bit more the darkness, but we want to be not heavy-handed just yet. So, okay, if everyone is kind of to this point where we have some shadows in our water, we are going to go into the next step of bringing in our trees. So we're going to add and use our small brush and go in with black with a little bit of the dark green and come in and create our trees.
What small brush? There's a few.
Sure, absolutely. So to me, they're all fairly similar as far as size. There is one that is a 2, and there's a 1, a 0, and a 3. Okay, so for me, I would say with our trees, it just depends on how heavy. If you feel like you have a really heavy hand, use your 0 or your 1. Or is it a 0? It's a 20. Oh, it's a 20. Okay. So you could use the smaller ones. But if you're not too heavy handed and you want to use one of the medium size, kind of the 2, you could go with any of them. I probably kind of went back and forth with using them depending on how I felt and how the trees were kind of growing as they get a little bit bigger towards the edge. I think I'm going to stick with the 1 for this and see how I feel as we're building our trees. So grab your green and a little bit of black.
The dark green?
Yeah, you're going to go with the deep green. Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm going to start creating kind of this tree line. So I'm going to start at the smallest and build. And I just start with creating these little trees, I just do like a little line and then little brush strokes to the sides. So I just do, let me see if I can do a bigger one so you can see. Okay, I'm gonna do a bigger one. I just kind of do these strokes on the sides. Do one line and then little strokes in the sides to start creating my trees, or happy little trees. Now we can all be Bob Ross today. And you can do as many or as small amount of trees as you'd like. We have kind of this tree line going on that really with my trees, I kind of, or the skyline with my trees, I really covered. So towards the other side, on this left side, I had a sparser amount of trees, more on the right side, but you can choose as many or as little. And if you look on the left side, I also just kind of had some little trees without leaves going up. I just kind of wanted a little bit of a contrast. So I just kind of had them going up a little bit. But this is your own creative licensing to figure out. And if you look, I added a little tree on the edge. So feel free to continue your tree line all the way to your edges. So it's not left out, okay?
Are you mixing a little black with your green, or is it just the green?
Definitely black with your green. So a little bit of black with your green, because it's all of these trees are really not in the forefront. They're all shadowed by the sun. None of them are reflecting. It's going to be a little bit lighter as we go this way. So as we add in a little bit more black here shortly, you can kind of darken some of the trees towards the edges. But all of these trees are going to be like a dark green compared to, if you see, the green pops from the grass and the trees really are dark. And a lot of times you can see that if you think about the sun's rays, you're going to see light popping through the trees, but the light is going to be on the other side of what we're seeing. We're seeing the dark side of the trees. We're not seeing the front of the trees. So hopefully that makes sense. So we're all going to be dark. And as we add in a little bit more black, we can darken even more the ones towards the edge. I'm just going to start adding happy trees wherever I feel. And they're smaller towards the sun, because we're kind of looking at this depth perception of the sun being the focal point, and then things growing larger as they go out. So that's why the trees on the edges are taller and the ones towards the sun are smaller. So a little bit of depth perception. And I'm also not adding any water. So I didn't mention that, but since we're just doing fine detailed lines with our paints, we're not doing undercolor now. We're adding our forefront items like these trees. So I'm not really adding, these acrylics are not full on straight paint. There is a little bit of water or oil in them. So we don't really need to add, unless you need to like clean out your brush or you feel like it's way too dry, you're not getting like any sort of depth or nice stroke, you can add a little bit of water, but I'm mostly just adding paint to paint. Just imagine Bridgerton music playing right now while you're painting. So I'm starting to kind of get my little forest there. Don't forget the edge. If you added some trees there, I did add a tree, but he's very light right now. So as you add in your trees, you can go ahead and add a little bit more black to some of the edges ones if you feel like they're too light. And I feel like we could always spend so much time on our trees and like get them very perfect and add as many as we'd like. I'm just going to show you the very next step that you can kind of do along with the trees. And that's just adding in where your stars, moons, planets, whatever you like to call them, up in the sky, our little dots, that's what's next. So we're kind of building on some of our focal points to stick to and around as we bring in the brush strokes for our Starry Night style painting. So we're doing our trees here. We're going to bring in just wherever we want our stars to go. And you can have as many or as little. When I was doing this painting originally, I probably had about a little bit more than half of the stars that are already in the sky here in this painting. And then as I went in with my strokes, I added even more. So you can kind of choose as you go along where you want them to go, if you want to add more, and where they're going to be. So I'm going to start doing that.
Sorry, I may have missed. Did you say what color we're doing the stars? Are they going to be yellow or white?
Great question. I did not say. I used both yellow and a little bit of white. So feel free to add in a spot for your white.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I mostly added white at the very end. Same with any black at the very end, where you feel like, oh, this needs to be a little bit darker. This needs to be a little bit lighter. If you add on both of those right away, it might feel like at the end, especially with black, it's become too dark. So wait to add black on its own. So at the very end where you feel like this needs this stark contrast. And that's where you might have even seen, I see them sometimes on TikTok where someone would be doing a painting and it's very taboo to add black or white straight on. It's not taught to do that, but sometimes adding that little bit of stark white right onto a part that's going to be very bright really gives a great contrast to something. And it's an artistic license. You can kind of do what you want. So yeah, add a little bit of white and yellow to make those stars for you.
And as far as the stars, is there like any recommendation that you can make on how to make those not look like a big ball?
Well, you do want them to be a big circle, right? So how I create my stars is I kind of just do it in a circular motion. So let me grab my paint. So I'm going to just start kind of figuring out and putting them down wherever I want. I kind of make a dot first where it's just pick a spot, make a dot. And then if I want it to be bigger, I start making a circular motion around that dot to make it bigger. So I do this when I'm making anything like from a small point to make it bigger, like a dot or a star. I start with one singular point and then I start to build. So don't like make a circle and then fill it in. Start with a small dot, then build. And then you'll know, okay, I want this big, or I want this, a small one over here. And something to think about in terms of art. And we do have a lot going on in our painting, but it does still slightly follow the power of three. So this is something, if you look at some famous paintings, a lot of times they're continuing to follow the power of three. There's a foreground, a main item, and like a foreground, a background, and a main item, right? So we've got 1, 2, 3, or there's 3 main pieces in the art form. We've got sky, land, sea, so power of 3. We are kind of going off of that with colors. A lot of times with famous paintings, you will see them follow the same color pattern and you don't even realize they're following like yellow, green, blue as their main color palette. They're not utilizing or following away from those. They're not using green. They're not using purple. They're maybe using low and high value of those 3 colors, but they're sticking in the power of 3s. Okay, someone has to leave. Thank you so much for joining us earlier. I'm sorry you couldn't stay. So anyway, with the power of 3, you can think about with your stars, maybe 3 big stars, and that's it. Stick with 3 big ones and then scatter with little ones, or do like 1 big one, 1 medium size, 1 small in one area. So that helps you to make a little bit of artistic balance with your painting, so that it's not just like all the same big size. You're sticking with like, I'm going to do 3 of this size, 3 of this size. It helps to give a balance to your painting and not for it to feel like it's one note. You can think about that as well. So we are almost done with this painting. It feels like, wow, we have so much more to do. It's really, we're getting to the very end. This is, like I said, we have 8 steps, and this is the end of step 6. So we only have 2 more steps. We're almost done, and we're about to finish this painting. So hopefully you guys are excited to finish it and see what the end result is going to be. And this is the time I think it starts to get fun, because you can really like, you're starting to do the finishing touches on this painting to really make it look vibrant and special and colorful. Not that it wasn't already colorful, because we're really utilizing every color of this palette here that we have, but we're really going in and having something to play with these circles that we're going to be adding. And feel free still, we're doing the front, but don't forget there's going to be little stars on the edges too. So add those in where is needed all around your painting. So I've got a few stars on here. So really the next step that we're going to do is the next 2 steps is really bringing in our paint strokes. One is just like our first layer and then building more on top. So what I'm going to start with is I like to go with yellow and orange as the next step, because a lot of it is the main sun and then its reflection throughout the sky and the water. So if you would look at like a pool of water and the sun is shining on it, you would have where the sun is directly falling down. But if if there's little depths of things happening in your water, that reflection is going to happen in little bits all over. And that's kind of where with Starry Night, I think it's the moving of the sky. That's where like the stars and the sun are kind of, and the moon are falling throughout the sky like the wind. So we're kind of doing that with artistic license through water as well. So I'm going to utilize still my 1. I might go to my 2. So my strokes, you know what? I'm going to go to my 2 so that my strokes are a little bit bigger. And I'm going to go in with some yellow and orange. And this is where, once I show you this, you can just start going gung-ho with your strokes, because you're just starting to create movement around your stars and your water. So I am going to just start with around my stars and just start figuring out where my movement is going to be. Just start. I'm just thinking about where my swirls are going to go. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm just starting to create little bits of movement around my stars. And this, you don't really need to add any water to it. Go right into the paint so it's a nice thick piece of paint. And I need to get a little more yellow, but then I'm going to show you in the water as well. So I'm going to start in my water, kind of just start putting some of these swatches down in different places. And I'm just going to start. And you want it, if you have movement happening, like kind of how I have this circle, you want those swatches of paint to start moving with it as well. Different movements around in your water. I like to stick with one color first. So I'm doing my yellow, and then I'm going to go in with my orange after I do my yellow. Just adding little bits throughout my water and through my stars. When you start using your darker color, like your black, that's when I'd be cautious, but using this yellow, the orange, just go to town wherever you want it to be. You can already see in the final painting that it's kind of all over. So feel free to put them wherever you want. You just want them to move around the stars, move around with the water, wherever it's moving. Don't forget to drag it up into the sides and the top of your painting also. And you're going to move it also around the edge of the actual main circle of the sun. So pick where your sun is going to be right in the center, or however you have it in your painting, right in the center. I'm going to, with my brush, just create a small circle and then start to move around that with my paintings. So you can see that. Trying to get there, you go. See, I did a little circle, and I'm just going to start moving those paint strokes around the sun and into the rays and into the stars also. And really the very last step in this is just doing the same thing, but with darker to bring in a sense of depth, especially in that water towards the edges. If there's anywhere on your painting you feel as you go through and do these strokes that you need to add a little bit more blue or green, you can go in and add some of those colors you're working with before to kind of bring your painting to its final destination, as to say. So I'm just adding like a little bit more green right at that edge line. And I feel like with all the talking I was doing, it's by the time we're finished, I don't know if I'll have it finished to the part where I would want it to be, but hopefully you guys are starting to see the finishing touches of your painting kind of coming together with all of those artistic brush strokes all over your painting. And I know someone earlier had asked about that little dot of their pencil mark still being there. So when you have your center sun, if you have marks of your pencil still there, you just need to go in with a thicker amount of that yellow and maybe some white and just start to cover in. While we were painting, I actually had a little bit, I think, put the painting down, a little flick of black or green got right in the center of my sun. So I just kind of scratched off a little bit with a paper towel, and then I'm filling it in where you really can't even tell that there was paint there at one point. So similar to that, just covering up with a thicker amount. And with it being acrylic, it shouldn't take very long to dry. Just that might be a little darker, or it might just take a little longer than some of the other parts of your painting. But again, feel free, those strokes of the paint, you can make them as deep and as thick as you want, because the more that you use, it's really going to be bright, nice and thick on your painting. How is everyone feeling?
I paint
No,
like a
listen.
4-year-old.
I'm like
so.
a 4-year-old. No, I'm sure you're doing great. I think so sometimes an artist is like, oh, I hate it. And then you have to walk away for 2 seconds. Or sometimes if you take a picture of it, you go, okay, that's not bad. But if you're staring at the same thing for 2 hours, you're like, oh my God, I hate it. I totally get it. Oh, it's doing great. So with the one person, Christina, if you, with your water, take some more of your paint to start to blend that yellow blue and use your larger brush, and you can go in with a little bit of yellow to start to soften the edge between the blue and the yellow, or the green. Just start to kind of add in a little bit on the edge. Don't bring any color to the center except for the yellow, but just start to blend the edge, and it'll be wider, your yellow at the base, and then up here. And then as you go down and you taper, you'll have less. So you can kind of bring in a little bit at the bottom, some of your color, and start to blend your edges in.
I do watercolor, not acrylic, so this is
It's a little different. It's a little different.
yeah.
So once you're kind of going in your blending and things like that, you can start to bring in your white and a little bit of your darker colors as well with your black. You can go again with your like dark blue and build and bring in that black at the very end where you feel like this is the darkest, like your trees in the very edge, your edges of your water. That's going to be the farthest away from the sun, so that's going to be a little bit darker. But you can start to bring in a little bit of that. So I'm going to kind of pick certain places for my white, and I'm going to lighten my blues a little bit. Start to pick out where my lighter colors might want to go. That can help to blend a little bit with light blue and white towards around that sun that's in the water. You can do that as well. If you're using just this round palette, I'm starting to run out of places to blend. I'm being very cautious. But I'm going to just start bringing in a little bit of white with some of those colors to lighten up. And this is where just start lightening up the edges a little bit too. Wherever you feel like it needs to be, you can lighten it a little bit. Let that yellow be the star. Start to light it a little bit. And especially up in your stars and your sun with your white, that's where you can go. Once you've kind of figured out where things are going to be and you've done a lot of your strokes, you can utilize your white and say, okay, I want this is where my white's going to go, like right in the center. Some of these dots, that's where my white is going to go. Right in those highlighted spots, so that some of them are my brightest colors right on there, or even right in the center where your water is. So right at the center where the sun hits the water, I'm going to add a little bit of white. Thank you, Amy, for joining us. A little bit of white right on that center of the painting where the water starts on our sun reflection. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you here is adding some of those darker colors in now on top of everything and bringing them in a little bit further into the painting. So now if you decide you want it to be this bright and you do not want to bring in any darkness, you do not have to. This is very much like a setting sun. We brought in a lot of that darkness into the painting towards the middle. So I'm going to start to bring in a little bit more of that. I used my deep blue color with the black, starting to get to the edges here a little bit more to darken up those ripples in the water and the reflection of the trees in the water as well. So just bringing in a little bit more darkness to finish up my Starry Night painting. Hopefully we're looking at something a little bit. We're imagining we're there painting on the water at sunset, a little bit different than the view that Van Gogh would have had in his Starry Night. So remember, we're doing a reflection, and reflections have the same color as the original item in them. So I am going to do a little bit of the dark blue to showcase the water that's darkening around that shadow, but I am going to go in with a little bit of dark green to shadow where those trees might have been in the water, kind of on the edges here, as we're just starting to darken up our painting a little bit for our night sky. And we're just hitting 7, so I don't know if anybody had to leave right away. I can stay on as long as anyone would like to still paint and ask and answer questions you have. I've given you a lot of instruction on this, and hopefully you were able to follow along. And I can give another little fun fact too, or trivia question if anybody would like one as well. So as far as I know, my last trivia question is, so we kind of took this painting off of Starry Night, or a Van Gogh style, with a lot of his brush strokes, right? And when he was doing his paintings, he was using oils, and he had a very tragic ending, as we know. But does anybody know where he was and what he was looking at when he made the Starry Night painting? I don't think anybody knows that little answer, or can guess. Nobody can guess.
The toilet.
That's a great guess. I don't think he was, although I can't say he wasn't.
Who said that? That was awesome. The toilet.
That was my lovely mom. We're all here painting together.
Toilet.
My guess was in the field.
Good. It's a great answer because of all of his paintings with the sunflowers and everything as well. Anybody else got a guess?
Isn't he in an insane asylum looking out a window?
Is it because I've told you this answer already? Yes, that is the answer.
Oh, you didn't tell me. I knew that.
That's not fair. She knew the answer.
I didn't know what he was looking at.
Oh, exactly. So it's when he was in the insane asylum. He had a very small window. From what I remember reading, it might have been a 4x6 window. It was like very small, so no one could get through, and he was looking out at the night sky, and that is what he said he saw through his asylum window. That very small window is what he saw, was the swirling of the sun and the stars, or the moon and the stars. So very interesting tidbit that I didn't realize is when he made that painting was when he was in the asylum. So pretty crazy. Well, not pun was not intended for that either. Okay, so how are we feeling with our paintings? Oh, very nice. I love the stars in the darker blue. I love that. Anyone else have their paintings? A lot of the paintings, I think, because of the filters, are not coming through.
My daughter's helping me.
Yeah.
Don't ask. I'm sitting here. I have trouble with the stars.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, oh, great.
Those are beautiful.
Hey, my stars, but besides my stars.
Yeah, no, the tree line. Oh my gosh. Weren't you one of the people shaking their head saying they couldn't paint? I mean, that is amazing.
The filter off.
I need to fix my stars. They're big balls of white.
Ooh, I love that. I love your shoreline. Looks very realistic, Megan. Yeah, very nice.
Where's my camera? There it is.
Ooh,
I feel like I have goldfish in my water. Oh, mine's blurry.
Yeah, I don't know how to get it off.
I felt like with my little pool of water, I was kind of making a fish as well.
I feel like I have a
Oh, Melanie, yours looks like Tangled when they let off all those lanterns.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you.
Oh, where am I back?
I hope everyone enjoyed this painting class. I hope you got a little bit of information out of it and had some fun.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was so fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Had a good time.
Guys,
And-
take a picture of yours and put it in the channel.
Oh, okay.
If
I
you
gotta
would
fix
like
these big balls of garbage first.
If you'd like to share your painting with Cully, and she wants to share them with me, I'll also put them in the end of the video when edited. So feel free to share your pictures. We'd love to see the ending of it. And yeah, if everyone was just to hold up their painting right now, even if it's blurry, that's okay, because it will kind of do like a screenshot type of thing. Yay, everyone. So love all your paintings. Thank you guys for coming, and hopefully I'll see you guys again at another virtual event, but enjoy the rest of your week. Hope you have good weather. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, guys. Feel free to keep painting too. I know I felt like it went quick, so.
It went by really fast.
I know, I couldn't believe
Thank
it.
Bye, y'all.
Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching our video today. We hope you enjoyed painting with us, and here are some great pictures from some of the amazing members of the team that went through and did this video with us. So thank you again for participating. We hope you enjoyed making this fun canvas painting party image that we made for you, and I hope it was very special and hope you made lots of memories and learned a little bit too about the arts. So thanks again, and we hope to party with you soon.